Welcome to the narrowboat that James built. Hope you're all very well. Well, I'm halfway through the second coat of the first side. So that lot there, I'm trying to get my head around all this. That lot there still need one more coat on one more side. And it's that side that needs another coat. The underside of those boards are done, as is that cup of tea. Slight frustration, so I'm going to go for the PVA glue to do the outside. The PVA glue is in the boot of my car. I went to go and check on it to make sure it's a waterproof PVA, and the key of the boot doesn't work, and the button inside doesn't work, and basically I can't get into the boot. And there's no other way in. There's no like hatch from the back, so I'm buggered. So tomorrow morning I've either got to see if they've got anything here, which I don't think they do, or I've got to go to Screwfix and get myself some waterproof PVA and see if I can, I don't know, back in the day a 15-year-old lad would know how to break into the back of a Mercedes like that. But so yeah, so I'm getting through these boards. The ballast is drying in the boat, so I'll show you how I've gone about that. Well, I mean, it's pretty much as it is, but as I say, I'm trying to show you everything. So even bricks drying is something that I'm going to show you, because it is something that is happening. And it's good to have other things happening whilst I'm doing this. So that's good. But it means because of the PVA situation, I'm not going to have to break a neck to get this all done and dusted tonight and lug it up to the boat or anything. I'll do that in the daylight tomorrow when I can see where I'm walking to get this stuff up there, because I don't want it to go in the mud. Because one thing I've realised is that as much as a lot of the place will have floor down on it, this stuff here is, in some parts of the boat, is going to be the finished floor. That will be the bit that you can see under the kitchen cabinets, under the shower, under the bed, under the dinette. That's what it will be. So I'm now, as I'm going through it, selecting bits that I think will be, appropriate to be visible, and other bits where you think, yeah, no, that definitely needs a covering on it because that bit's knackered. So caking it in mud, taking it up to the boat at half midnight is probably not going to be advisable. So I think I'll leave it stacked up here overnight, get to Screwfix first thing in the morning. By that I mean kind of 11ish, and get the PVA on it. By that time, hopefully the bricks will be in there. Mysteriously they'll have floated up into the boat and dried themselves off. That'd be nice. And get the floor laid for the weekend. That's the plan. So yeah, 4 more of these to go. It's all going on fine. It's just everything with the narrowboat, it's just repetition. It's the same thing. So yeah, all I've got to do is lacquer this board, no problem, but I've got 8 of them to do, twice each side. Well, there we go, that's done. The second coat on the first side, I'm trying to get this right, it's the second coat on the first side, 2 coats done on one side, that's right. So I've got 1 more coat to do basically, and it's this side here on all of the boards is the one to do. So that would definitely be done by tonight. So I think it's about 11:15 or something like that now. And it didn't take long. Once you lug all the boards and put them down, that's the first thing to do, is to put them all in place. Then it's a case of doing one, moving it, doing one, moving it. If you've got to move one, do it, and then move another one to the place, it makes way more work. So it's just a case of, as I said, it's repetition, but it's a case of minimizing the actual workload. So but it didn't take long. I listened to half Pearl Jam's 10 album. So there you go, it gives you a flavour of how long it took. So I'm going to go and have myself a cup of tea and, I don't know, a few penguins. But the problem is I've made a pact with myself that every time I walk past the pile of bricks, I've got to put 50 onto the boat. So as much as a cup of tea and a couple of penguins feels like a good thing, the thought of doing the bricks, less so. But hey, there we go. So here we have multitasking in action. So these hand selected bricks have been hand dusted off and brushed, and each one selected for their cleanliness, appearance, structural integrity and dryness. Anyway, so that's the first batch. They've all been stacked in some kind of, I don't know, I guess the way that you would stack them if you wanted airflow to flow through the gaps, which is the plan. So we'll leave that on for 10 minutes and see how it goes. But it's starting to smell a bit bricky in here. So I'm guessing that's a good sign, because I'd rather it to air all this stuff before it goes underneath the trap subfloor. Which, talking of which, does anyone know if you would dare put vents in the subfloor to create a bit of airflow? Otherwise, it's basically going to be pretty well sealed. So let me know on that. Thank you. And here is the final batch. So the last lot being loaded and treated. So all done in one night, which I was quite relieved about. And even though I kept using the big can, I kind of got better at controlling it, and it got easier as it got lighter, but all done in one can, so that's good to know. So just enough coverage, and I'll PVA the sides tomorrow. But happy it all got done in one session. There we go. The boards are all done. 2 coats on both sides. It's now 2 in the morning, but the important thing was to really get them all done in one stint, and then I don't have to muck around with brushes, but more importantly, they can dry all overnight, and tomorrow I can deal with bringing them into the boat in daylight, because if I was to slip out there and break a neck, or worse still, drop a piece of timber in the mud, then that'd be so it'd be much better to do it in the morning. So I've got still quite a lot to do. I'm not going to do any more now. I'm going to call it a night now. And then there's a bit of rain forecast tomorrow, so I'm going to just put on some covering on the bricks which are outside. I've probably bought in about maybe 300 or 400. I'll count them as I'm putting them in the actual bays, but at the moment I think I've bought in about 300 or 400, so I'm about a third of the way through. If I'm honest, I'm quite glad they're still not down in the well in the actual wells yet, because would you believe it's only now that they are absolutely bone dry. That bitumen takes forever to dry. I know these aren't perfect setting in terms of temperature, and it's always going to be tricky down there, even though you've got the insulation around and even though the heating's on. It's still going to be tough down there, because obviously the heat rises and it is cold down there. Even now, just to feel it, it's just, you can feel it's just cold. So I'm not surprised it's taken a while to go off, but I'm not surprised that also a lot of people get it wrong when they apply that bitumen, and they don't give it enough time for it to properly go off. I put that on Friday. It's nearly been a week, in fairness, for that to in these type of conditions. So this is November in the UK, so it's not exactly warm, but it's taken a week for it to properly go off. So I'm delighted that it has, because when I took some of the bricks out, I could see they were caked in this stuff. So I'm guessing that was mostly down to the fact that they were put in before that bitumen had properly gone off, and they were basically been put into wet bitumen. So I'm guessing that's what it was. So tomorrow we'll be putting the ballast in bit by bit, and then putting the boards in once I've got the PVA glue and applied that. So really it's going to be all morning, all day doing the floors, but I'm fine with that. There's nothing else really to do. I've got no other timber, so that'll be fine. And then over the weekend, the plan will be electrics. Conduit needs to go in. I need to look at the nav lights, and so poking through the in various bits of the boat, there's cables poking through, and I need to basically hollow out or get rid of some of that insulation and get back to those wires and make sure that the seals between the going through the skin of the boat is good. Last thing I want is for insulation for there to be a leak by a badly installed nav light. So I need to basically work out the wiring for the nav lights, the horn, the headlamp, of which I'm going to have probably 2 or 3, because I've got quite a few tunnels to kind of get through in the area that I'm planning on going regularly. So I want a few headlamps, and then you got all the nav lights. So I need to look at all of that, and because I need to do that before the side walls go on. And obviously I need to look at the conduit and working that out and getting that through the walls. So there's still a lot to kind of get my head around. I've got some catalogues from kind of electrical retailers which are like that thick, which I'm trying to kind of get my head around, but yeah, there's enough advice here in the wharf. So the guys will no doubt help me out with a few pointers, and there's a few boats I can go and have a look at, which is always helpful when you're doing these things, to kind of in various stages of fit out, so you can kind of have a peer around and see what they're doing. Because as much as seeing stuff on YouTube is fine, it's quite good to be actually physically there, and you can challenge them and things. And to be honest, the amount of stuff I've seen on YouTube which is wrong is just scary. And people that kind of really seem to know what they're doing, or certainly come across as they do, and they give the caveat that they're not electricians or they're not gas installers or whatever, but they're making like fundamental mistakes. So it's always good around somewhere like this where there's just loads of people giving advice, because you can make sure that you don't make big errors. So yeah, I've got some things to consider at the moment, which I will sort out over the weekend, and get some bits together. And next week again is going to be another big momentous week. I'm hoping things will be a lot easier having a floor. Getting around the boat firstly will be a lot easier. I won't be having to constantly move everything around, well, not as much, which will be a lot easier. And if I do, it's a case of just sliding it as opposed to building an area for it to go firstly and then moving it into that area. It's an absolute bloody nightmare. So I'll be delighted once I've got a floor down. Although given the prep I've done on it, there's no way I'm gonna have to have slippers policy only now. So there's the amount of crap you bring in is horrific, and they say the same on the towpath. It's just mud galore. So yeah, I'm not going to want that on this new subfloor, because I'm already looking at it thinking, yeah, that's nice. I mean, it's not, it's tatty as anything, but I've put a lot of work into it, so you kind of don't want to just put muddy shoes all over it. So I don't know, we'll work something out. So yeah, a lot to crack on with, a lot to think about as well, and to research and kind of get my head around. So all of your comments and your advice is really welcomed, and loads of it I'm acting on, so it's great. So it's kind of good to think, kind of explain my next steps to you guys, so that you know, if there are things that you've come across, you can point me in the right direction. It's really appreciated, so thank you for that. So look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you tomorrow, no doubt. Take care, thanks for watching, bye bye.